Hey there, and welcome. Today, we're going to pull on a single thread that runs through the entire Bible. It's an idea that connects the very first moments of creation to a promise that stretches into eternity. Let's dive in. So, let me ask you a question. When you think about the Bible, what really comes to mind? For a lot of people, it feels like a big book of rules, a list of do's and don'ts. Or maybe just a jumble of disconnected stories about ancient history. But what if there's more to it than that? What if, underneath all the laws and prophecies and histories, it's actually one single cohesive story, a story about a relationship? And here's the twist. It's not a story about us trying to find God. It's the other way around. It's a story about the creator of the universe in a relentless, loving pursuit of us. Now that's an idea worth exploring. To really get this, we have to start where the story starts, at the very beginning. You see, the creation of the world wasn't just about making stars and trees. It was about designing a world, a stage, that was perfectly built for relationship, for fellowship. Now, right here in the text, something amazing happens. After creating everything else, the narrative pauses, and there's this divine conversation. Let us make man. That little word, us, is huge. It tells us that this wasn't just another item on a cosmic to-do list. This was different. This was personal. So, what does being made in God's image even mean? Well, it's definitely not about looking like God physically. It's about reflecting his character. It's about having a moral compass, that ability to know right from wrong. It's that built-in spiritual hunger we all have. It's the ability to think, to create, to reason. And most importantly for our story, it's the ability to have relationships. We were literally hardwired for connection. And this just shows how incredibly unique humanity was in that original design. We're called the crowning work of creation for a reason. Animals are amazing, but they operate on instinct. We were given moral awareness. They're part of creation, but we were designed for communion with the Creator and called to be caretakers of that creation. A totally different role. So, here's the bottom line of that original blueprint. The default setting for humanity was perfect, unfiltered, face-to-face friendship with God. Imagine that. That was the goal. That was the ideal. A world built for relationship. But, of course, we all know the story doesn't stay in that perfect place. The blueprint gets shattered, the narrative takes a tragic turn, and that open, perfect relationship suffers a catastrophic break. This quote really says it all, doesn't it? This wasn't just a minor disagreement or a small rift. Sin completely severed what was described as the closest possible fellowship. The connection was just gone. In that beautiful image of God and us, well, it got marred. The best way to think about it is like a priceless painting that's been vandalized. You can still see traces of the original masterpiece underneath, but the whole thing is now twisted, damaged, and distorted from what it was meant to be. Our very capacity for relationship was broken. And that break, it wasn't a little crack we could just patch up. It created a massive chasm, a canyon so deep and so wide that there was absolutely no way for us to get back across on our own. We were stuck, powerless to fix what we had broken. But this is where the story completely turns on its head. Just when all hope seems lost, when we are totally powerless, God does the last thing anyone would expect. He doesn't walk away. He begins the pursuit. Think about the very first question God asks after everything went wrong. He calls out, "Where are you?" Now, that's not the question of an angry policeman looking for a culprit. It's the yearning call of a heartbroken father looking for his lost children, wanting to bring them back home. And this becomes the undeniable pattern, the absolute heartbeat of the entire biblical story. In this relationship, God always takes the first step. He's the one who initiates. He's the one who reaches across the chasm. And this pursuit isn't a one-time thing. It unfolds gradually throughout history. It starts right there in the garden with a mysterious promise to Adam about a future victory. Then it continues with Noah, a promise to preserve the human race. And it gets really specific with Abraham, a promise to create a special family that would ultimately bless the whole world. Okay, so God is pursuing us, but how does he make these promises stick? How does he build that bridge across the chasm? He uses a very specific and very powerful tool, the language of covenant. Now, it's really important we get this right. A covenant is not a modern-day contract between two equals. It is a solemn, binding oath that God himself initiates to restore the relationship. The original Hebrew phrase for it literally means to cut a covenant, which hints at just how serious and life and death these promises were. And you see this beautiful pattern emerge over and over. First, God always initiates out of pure grace. Second, he makes a binding, unbreakable promise. And third, the only thing required from our side is to respond with simple trust, with faith. Now, here's the big idea that ties it all together. These covenants with Noah and Abraham and others, they weren't just a bunch of separate, unrelated deals. They were all expressions of one single overarching plan, an everlasting covenant of grace that God had in mind from the very beginning. And this brings us to the climax of the entire story. This whole grand pursuit sealed by promise after promise, it was all building toward one thing: the complete and total restoration of that original blueprint for humanity. This really brings it all full circle, doesn't it? Look at the contrast. The relationship was broken, now it's reconciled. We tried to be independent, now we learn to live in dependence on God. We were subject to death, now we receive eternal life. Our character was distorted, and now it's being transformed into the likeness of Christ. Every single problem is met with a perfect solution. And who is the one who makes all this happen? According to the story, Jesus is the ultimate fulfillment of God's pursuit. He is the one who comes to fully restore that marred image, to remake the character that was ruined by sin. He is the bridge across the chasm. You know, when you boil it all down, the story of the Bible isn't just an escape plan. It's not just about God rescuing us from a bad situation. It's so much more personal. It's an invitation. It's like God is moving into the neighborhood because he wants to be with us, to dwell among us. The goal was always relationship. So, we end with this. If this incredible story is true, this story of a perfect design, a tragic break, and a relentless divine pursuit, then what does it actually mean for you, for me, to be the one who is sought after, to be personally pursued by the creator of everything? That's really something to think about.